Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Gray, the director of the Michigan Unemployment Insurance Agency, and we've been working tirelessly to make sure that everybody out there gets the help that they need. But we realize that that's of little comfort to people that are anxiously waiting for questions that you put to us to be answered. And so yesterday we did a sort of rapid fire question and answer period where I tried to answer as many of people's questions that they had submitted as I could in 30 minutes. It seemed to be pretty well received, and so we're doing it again today with a different set of questions. So with that, let's dive in. I'll be looking at my screen here and reading off the questions and then answering them as we go. So let's dive in. So first question, I've been denied unemployment and don't think I should have. What should I do? So there's two things to keep in mind. So normally if you're denied unemployment, there's an opportunity for you to file a protest. And that should give you the option when you log into MiWAM to file a protest if you've been denied. You click on that, you fill out the reasons for why you think you should be eligible and to resubmit it. And then the agency will look at that and evaluate it and to see if there's any new or additional information that makes us change our mind. And if we think you should be eligible, we'll reverse it. If not, we'll send you a new redetermination that says we still don't think that you're eligible. You then have a right to appeal that. And if you appeal that, that will be sent to an administrative law judge where they'll get you on the phone and they'll get information about your facts, and then they'll make a decision about whether or not you should be eligible. However, there's a group of people right now that have been denied regular state assistance. So for example, self-employed people or 1099s or people with limited wages in the last year who've been denied normal state assistance because they just don't have enough income, and they would be eligible for the federal benefits, the PUA or the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. So what they need to do is, if they've been denied because of that, they've got a monetary determination saying that they've been denied, is just to complete the application for Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and go that way. Now you still can contest your other claim denial if you want and complete the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance at the same time. And then if it turns out that your case is reversed and you actually should have been eligible for Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, then we'll go back and backdate it and put you on state assistance. Next question. What if you're both a W-2 worker and a 1099 worker? What do you do in that circumstance? So the question is, I've already submitted my W-2 and I don't have a Pandemic Unemployment Assistance application on my account. So if you're both a W-2 and a 1099 worker, then you would file for normal state unemployment benefits, and then if you got a monetary denial because you didn't have enough W-2 wages to qualify for state benefits, and then what you need to do next is then apply for Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And I know for a period of time, a few days ago, some people didn't have that link available to them, but once you get that monetary denial that you're not eligible for state unemployment assistance, then there'll be a link for you to apply for Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. You go through that application, and we're processing those applications this week. So if you have both 1099 and W-2s, should you submit your W-2s with the PUA income verification section? Absolutely. So any income verification that you have for your income last year, either the 1099 forms or the W-2s, submit them both. Now the good thing about the W-2s, we probably already have that information because every quarter your employer would have filed, if you have a W-2, would have filed a quarterly wage report. But sometimes those quarterly wage reports don't get filed by employers, and it can't hurt to have that additional W-2 information. But don't wait to submit that additional information if you don't have the W-2s handy. Just submit the 1099s. But if you got them both, submit them both. So what is the best time to contact UIA through phone? So that's probably one of the biggest sources of frustration for people, is that they aren't able to get hold of us by phone. And you know, that's kind of been a historical problem for the unemployment insurance agency. People would say they had trouble getting through on the phones. There was problems with the phones. And so we just went through this process where we purchased a brand new phone system. And prior to the pandemic, we've been making great strides to make sure that everybody that called got through and also had reduced wait times. And so believe this or not, but prior to pandemic, we actually had everybody getting through every time that they called the unemployment insurance agency, and wait times down to less than 5 minutes. And so when the pandemic hit, obviously the call volume just went through the roof. Where normally we would take 6,000, maybe 7,000 calls on a busy day, we're now up to 150, 160, 170,000 calls a day. So we've been putting a lot of resources on the phone at the beginning of the pandemic to make sure that people that couldn't file their regular claims by the internet could do so by phone. And so our focus has been putting a lot of energy and time on the phones so that everybody can complete their applications. Now that the number of applications have been dropping off and we've got 95 to 97% of the people able to complete their applications on the internet through the MiWAM account, we're taking attention from the phones and putting it on to those cases that are currently being held. However, we're also bringing in new staff from the outside to put on the phones. And so I think the original question was, and this is a long way to get to the answer, the original question was, when's the best time to call? So my answer to that is, we're trying to save the phones for people that can't get through on the internet. So that's the best time to call. The other thing is we've reserved Saturdays just for people that need to file a claim and can't do so online. If you haven't been able to file a claim and you can't do it online because you don't have internet access, then Saturdays are going to be the best time, and the phones are open on Saturdays between 7 and 2. Next question. My daughter has received a letter to verify her identity. She has been receiving benefits already, but now they are asking for this. What is the fastest way to get it there? So there's a couple of different options to get a document into us. So if you, after 5 o'clock, you can send a web notice with documents that are attached. If you have access to a fax machine at home, I know some people have like soft fax software on their computers or on their phones. You can fax it in, and there's a fax number that's listed on the website. Those are the two options. You can also mail it in. Obviously, fax or the web notice is going to be the quickest way to get the documents to us. You should also check to see whether or not you still have an identity issue, because we had a number of people that were getting identity issues that shouldn't have, and so we went through the system and cleared out a lot of those identity issues. And so even if you had an identity issue a week or week and a half ago, there's in all likelihood you don't have one now, and you may not need to submit that identity information. Next question. My original claim was denied and protested. PUA claim submitted. Will the protest hold up my PUA claim? If so, how can I delete my protest so I can receive benefits quickly on my PUA claim? So no, the protest won't hold up your PUA claim. I think, as I mentioned earlier, you can run both of those simultaneously. What you need to do is just decide whether or not you think that you actually should have been eligible for benefits, and if you do, then you can go forward with that protest. But if not, you could withdraw the protest and just go forward on your PUA claim. But I don't want to encourage anybody ever to deny or to remove a protest unless they just don't think that they're eligible. But having those two going simultaneously shouldn't cause a problem for your PUA claim. Next question. Will the PUA application allow for back pay to when we were first unable to work due to COVID-19? So can it be backdated? Absolutely. And in fact, the PUA program is that federal program for 1099 workers and self-employed and people with limited wages in the last year. Congress has specifically said those can be backdated to your last day of work as far back as January the 27th of this year. So they'll be backdated, and if you're approved, you'll get all the back pay with that. Now, the actual extra $600, that PUC amount that's added on to your normal claim, that only takes effect as of the first week in April. So even if your last day of work was, let's say, January the 27th, your PUA benefits will be backdated to then, but that $600 won't start until April. So on your regular PUA application, you can get between $160 and like $362. And then there's that additional $600 that you get with that. That $600 is not backdated except back to April the 4th, or that first week in April. Next question. What additional documents should we upload to our MiWAM account when applying for PUA that will help it be processed successfully? So the good thing is, if you answered all the questions on the PUA application, it's going to process. It shouldn't be held up if you submit it without adding additional documents. You can go back in and add additional documents if you want once the claim is processed. And the only documents that you need to upload is proof of what your income is in 2019. And so again, this is for people that are 1099, self-employed, people with low wages. And so what you would upload to prove what your income is in those circumstances would be, your 1099 forms that you got for last year. Those can get uploaded. If you're self-employed, I think most self-employed business owners have like a Schedule C, I think, that comes in with your taxes for last year. But whatever information you have that shows what your income was for last year on your taxes, that should get uploaded. And then for people with lower wages, then that's but you still got a W-2, you can send in the W-2. But like I said, for the most part, we're going to have that wage information for most of the low wage workers. So I have 1.5 weeks left on my unemployment benefits, and I'm not going back to work anytime soon. Do I need to file a new claim to get extra weeks? So if you've gone all the way through your 26 weeks and you just have a couple weeks left, when that is done, then the next there's a federal extension on, which we call PEUC. I won't even tell you what that stands for, but there's a federal extension of an additional 13 weeks. Your claim will automatically get moved over to that, and you shouldn't need to do anything additional. But if you go back in when your weeks expire and it tells you to file an additional claim or to file a new claim, then you should do that, click on that and submit that. But as a practical matter, you shouldn't need to do anything at that point. So what information can claimants send in to help their claim be better expedited? So as a practical matter, really the only pieces of information that you need to submit with your initial claim on the state claim is the answers to the questions that are there. There's usually not additional information you need to submit on the state claim. Now on the federal claim, or that pandemic unemployment assistance, the PUA, it's that proof of what your earnings were in the past year. And again, I talked about that earlier. It's the 1099 form if you have one, your tax information if you're self-employed, the Schedule C, and any other tax information that shows what your income was last year. And then if you're a W-2 employee, then it's the W-2 information. So how do I certify once my PUA application is approved? So PUA applications, we took those over the last week and a half to 2 weeks. and now they're being processed this week. In the next day or two, you'll get an opportunity to certify. And so if you go into your account and check, there'll be a certification option there that says certified. There are benefits that need to be certified for. You can click on that and you'll go through and answer a few questions. It takes just several minutes in order to do that. And you'll do that for the however many weeks that you need to certify for. I know people are anxious about this, and a lot of people are, going up to the website every 15 minutes, every half hour, and checking on it. The system doesn't update, but every 24 hours. And so if you checked once during the day, you should wait till the next day to go back in and check to see whether or not there's a new place for you to certify. But that's how you certify once you get in there. And again, it's just a series of questions. It's all, it shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes to answer them. So how do we delete an incorrectly filed claim? So we will do that on our end. The system doesn't allow us to, for the user to delete an incorrectly filed claim. So we'll go in and do that, and if it raises some issues, then we'll go in and fix those. Now, if you think there's just some piece of information that you checked one box where you should have checked a different one, then what you need to do is send a web notice to us notifying of that, and we'll be able to go in and fix it. So how do you refile when you've been denied? So that's a good question, because a lot of people are going in and refiling or trying to refile. So you don't need to refile when you've been denied unless it was a denial on a state unemployment assistance, and then you're just filling out the PUA application. You're not really refiling. So you've been denied state benefits, and you go back in. It'll give you the option to complete the information for the PUA, and you complete that, and your PUA will be processed. So how many claims have been filed in the last 30 days? At last count, we were close to 1.2 million claims that have been filed. We paid, as of the end of last week, about 864,000 people. And as I said, those PUA applications are being processed this week. We received about 370,000 of those. Assuming that most of those are approved, we're going to be over 1 million claims that have been paid, very soon. So I did my certification yesterday, and by mistake, I waived one of the weeks. How do I correct it? Yeah, that's a matter of filling out your a web notice to let us know that you've done that, and then when we get to that web notice, we'll go in and fix that. The good thing is, by waiving that week, you haven't actually lost it. But we understand, if your unemployment, ends early, then you may miss out on getting that week. But you're not going to if we can go back in and reopen that week, which we can do if you've just waived it by mistake. So just send us a web notice, and then we'll go back in and fix that. So my account says no payment was issued after it said processing on Saturday. So do I need to do anything, or is it still processing and just not telling me? So yeah, it's going to process until it pays you or it issues a certification. And so processing has taken a little longer given the high volume that we've gotten. But if it's not asking you to submit any additional information, then there's not anything that you need to do at this point. If my employer did everything on their end for our claims, why is it when I certify it says that it's processed but being held to give the employer a chance to look at the claim? So, so that's just what I would call legacy language from our old system. So it normally we give an employer 10 days after you file the claim to contest, and some states have what's called a waiting week in order to do that same thing. We don't have a waiting week, but we do give employers an opportunity to contest. We've actually turned off that waiting period now, and so it won't be. There isn't a 10-day hold on it. Your employer still gets an opportunity to contest, but we're not going to hold your benefits while we're waiting for the employer to contest when you file an initial claim. This is a good question. This is one of our 2 areas that we're really focused on right now. How are you guys focusing on people who are locked out when we can't even get to log in to get to the chat or get through on the phone? So unfortunately, we've got a system that's kind of built to handle a much lower volume of claims that we have, so that when we have people having the need to call to fix out a login issue, we've always been able to handle it without a problem. People have always been able to get through the next day, and we've been able to fix their problem for them that same day, within 24 hours, and it hasn't been a problem. That system, the reason it was designed that way was to try to give us extra security. I kind of compare it between Amazon and Apple. Right now, if I have a problem with my Amazon account, I can just reset my password, or there's an additional user that I need to delete and create a new one. I can do that, and I never have to talk to anybody. Now, Apple treats it a little bit differently because they think that they're more secure. So if you have like duplicate Apple IDs or problems with your Apple ID that you can't fix electronically, you've actually got to go into the Apple Store in order to do that. Now, right now, with all the Apple stores closed, I'm not exactly sure how they're helping people with that, but that's kind of the situation we're in here. We've got a system that's designed to be extra secure, so that if there are problems, it actually takes a human intervention to help with that. But that's not a lot of consolation to people that are currently locked out and they can't get through on the phone. So what we've done is we've created this form. When you get an error message that says that you're locked out, it will allow you to click on a link, and it'll pop up a little form that will give you a chance to give your name, your contact information, and a short description of what the problem is, and then submit it. And that's going into a special database that we have currently 100 people that are staffing that, and they're basically reaching back out to people and helping them with the password resets. We're bringing more people on to man that every day because that number is continuing to grow. The other thing that we're doing is we're working with our technology vendor to see if there's a way to keep the site as secure as it is, but also not generate these lockout issues or allow people to resolve them themselves. We don't have a solution on it yet, but hopefully we will soon. But in the meantime, you fill out that form and somebody will get back in touch with you. All right. I was supposed to begin to certify on Monday, then I was told to do it on Tuesday, but I still can't certify. When will this be fixed? And so I assume that you're talking about the pandemic unemployment assistance certifications. So we started processing those claims on Monday, and they've been processing on Tuesday. And the good thing is that the applications, the claims are getting created, is going on. And then the last thing that'll happen is that there'll be a link that pops up in your account to certify. and that should be completed today and maybe into tomorrow. So you'll see those on Wednesday and Thursday will be the opportunities. Later today and Thursday will be the opportunity for you to certify. But as I said, wait 24 hours before you go back in, and if you can, do it during off-peak hours. After 8 p.m. and before 8 a.m. Just so that there's not a mad rush on the system. We've got a regulator in place on the system so that we don't take more than 100,000 concurrent users at a time. So we think that even if there is a rush, it shouldn't take down the system, but it just may result in some people being frustrated because they can't get in right then. So we're asking people just to wait to do their online certification until after 8 in order to help with that. Okay. My kid's school closed because of COVID-19. Do I qualify for PUA even if I never had a real job? Just babysitted my daughter's kids for $50 to $75 a week. So yes, you should qualify for pandemic unemployment assistance. You go in and when you put in your Social Security number, it'll check to see whether you had enough covered wages in the past, and if you don't, then it'll take you right to the pandemic unemployment assistance application, and you'll be able to complete that. What does Go Green correspondence mean? Yeah, I've wondered about that myself. I just started actually with the agency. I've been working in the unemployment insurance area for most of my career, but just started with the agency in June. And one of the things that I saw was, we use that term Go Green. And it's a nice catchphrase, but what it really just means is electronic. So as opposed to mailing something to you, we just send it to you electronically. And the way that we do that is usually we'll send you an email saying, hey, there's something up on the website you should go check out. You go to your MiWAM account, and you can see the correspondence that's there waiting for you. All right. So I received my first unemployment deposit last week and didn't get the $600. When should I see the $600 deposited? So there were a number of people that depending on when your last day of work was. If it was after that first week in April or during that first week in April, then you may not be eligible for the $600 for that particular week. But in the subsequent weeks, you're going to be eligible for the $600. So after you certify the next time, you should see the two $600 payments that are added onto your account. One last question here. We're coming up on our 30 minutes. I am an independent contractor, self-employed. I filled the PUA application and didn't submit any proof of income. Do I have to submit any proof of income to receive the minimum 160 and the 600? Simple answer to that is no. If you don't supply us any more additional information, then you're going to get the minimum amount of 160 and the $600. If you want to try to increase that, then you can give us your proof of income, your tax records. If you got a 1099, the 1099 record, and you'll be able to go back in and add that to your claim. That could increase your regular $160 payment up to a total of $360 a week. And if that does increase it, then we'll backdate you the amount of difference that you're eligible for. So that's our 30 minutes. I appreciate this opportunity to answer some questions, and I wish it was different. I wish you could just call and get through. Even as we're bringing in high volumes of staff, we're just not able to handle the call volume. And so I just want everyone to know that if you haven't been paid yet, we are committed and working around the clock to make sure that everybody who hasn't been paid gets paid. Thank you.